I'm back with another book haul. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Now today I'm here with my part 2 March book haul. If you guys haven't watched it already, I already uploaded my March part 1 book haul in the first beginning weeks of March because I had a lot of books back then, and then now I just steadily collected all of the packages that I have received ever since that March book haul, and I must say I do have a lot of books to show you. I think I probably have over like 40 books, although I haven't been counting. I actually don't count the books that I collect anymore because like there's just too many and the number doesn't really matter anyway. So I have a lot of books to show you, and most of the books are romance books, but I do have a couple of young adult books that I'm very excited to talk about. So let's get started. So we're gonna start off right off the bat from a book from Hachette Book Group Canada. So they were very kind enough to send me this book, and it's called The Happily Ever After by Abby Jimenez. Like, I always forget how to pronounce her last name. I was not taught Spanish in Canada. So this is the second book in the Friend Zone series, and if you guys haven't watched my video already, I posted a video like months back where it was a video basically I talked about all the popular books that I hate, and unfortunately the Friend Zone was one of the books I hated. I mean, I'm not going to spoil much of it for you, but basically everything was really good until the ending, and I wasn't actually planning to read the Happily Ever After playlist, but it was recommended to me by the publicist, and I saw the opportunity to request a finished copy, so I said, what the heck, let's do it. I think I'm going to plan to buddy read this with my friend Jessica from Peace Love Books, but I'm still not sure if I'm going to read it at all because after reading the synopsis, I'm not really too sure. This book follows the main character, Salone, who is the best friend of the main girl from the Friend Zone. Basically, at the end of the Friend Zone, Salone's kind of left in the lurch. Like, she's kind of left at this very unpredictable, heartbreaking situation. And now in this book, she finds a dog that doesn't have an owner, and she starts to grow more comfortable with the dog, and she thinks the dog is her best friend. That is only until the owner of the dog actually comes back into the picture and wants the dog back. Do they connect, and do they meet each other? And turns out our main character is a musician. Now, I'm not gonna lie, and I'm gonna tell you guys right now that I actually don't like musician romances. I don't like celebrity romances because I just feel like it's too fabricated, it's too outlandish, it's just too out there. I just don't connect with the characters. So I'm not sure if I'm ever going to get to it this month, but hopefully I will read it soon with Jessica. So the second book that I want to show you is a book that I actually purchased myself. And what's funny about this book is that I actually had a NetGalley eGalley version of this book, and then I forgot about it because that's usually what happens when you request books on NetGalley. You forget that you have a copy. And then I purchased the ebook of it because I forgot I had the NetGalley version. And then I figured that I would read the Kindle version faster than the physical copy version. But then I saw this online for sale for $12, and I was like, I kind of really want the physical copy because just look at this cover. It's so gorgeous. By the way, this book is called The Love Solution by Ashley Croft, and this one is a romantic comedy starring two sisters named Molly and Sarah. And now Molly and Sarah are very close, but they're very different. One likes fashion and jewelry, and the other one loves science and like going into the lab and creating experiments. So Molly is our scientific sister. She's very smart and she loves finding solutions to a lot of things. So at work, she's entrusted with a top secret project where she is trying to figure out things and solve things. They don't really stipulate in the synopsis, but they also mentioned that she might have a crush on her boss, which sounds very cute already. And so when her sister Sarah goes through a major breakup, Sarah wants Molly to help her find a solution to heartbreak and to find actually love. I actually read the first chapter of this book already before I purchased the physical copy, just so that I could know the vibe of the story and know how the writing is. And so far I'm enjoying it, so I can't wait to read this very soon. So the third book that I want to show you is Date Me Bryson Keller by Kevin Van Wye. And this book is actually an ARC that was given to me by Penguin Teen Canada, and I adore the cover. I adore the synopsis. This one is a male young adult novel featuring a character that is gay, but he's closeted, and a openly gay character. And our closeted male character is actually a very popular boy in school, and each week he has a bet going on where he dates a different person every single week. So this one sounds very adorable, and this book actually comes out in May 2020, and I can't wait to read this very soon. So the fourth book that I want to show you is actually a book that I just purchased off of Amazon because it was only $3, and it was during quarantine and I was kind of bored, so that's why I purchased it. This one's called Mr. and Mrs. American Pie by Julia McDaniel, and this book features a character who is a housewife. She is doing great for herself, but then all of a sudden her husband wants a divorce, and suddenly she's by herself, she's penniless, and she has to move to a different city because she wants to run away and live another life aside from a housewife life, and that is where she learns about the local competition for pies, and she suddenly wants to become like the Miss Pie pageant winner. And the reviews of this book were amazing. Everybody was saying how funny it was, how uplifting it was, how cheerful it was, and I feel like this book would just be perfect for a cozy woman's fiction novel when I just want to have a great laugh. So the next 3 books that I want to show you is actually 3 books that I purchased myself in Chapters Indigo when I was for a 3 for $10 sale, and I couldn't pass up on the deal because I actually found one book that I really wanted to read, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to pay $6 individually for this book, so I'm just going to find 2 other random books. So this is the haul. So the first book that I want to show you in my 3 for $10 haul is The Little Unicorn Cafe Shop by Kelly Halles, and this book I feel like I might own on my shelf, and I was very hesitant before I was buying it because I didn't want a second copy because I read the synopsis and it sounded really familiar, but then upon looking at my shelves after I bought it, I don't think I actually have a copy of this book. So this book is about 2 best friends named Poppy and Ben, and now Poppy and Ben have decided to open a cafe together. So Ben is owning the cafe part, and then Poppy is owning the unicorn gift shop, so it's like half, and the rule is that the unicorn stuff can't go into Ben's side of the shop, and Ben's like cafe stuff shouldn't be going into Poppy's stuff. So it sounds like Ben is a very grouchy character and that they are 2 completely opposite characters, and of course they fall in love. So I'm very excited to read this novel. So the next novel that I purchased for the 3 for $10 sale is Crazy Busy Guilty by Lauren Sams, and now this book is a book about a mother who is a recent mother. She's new to motherhood, so she thought that being a mother would be easy, but then nobody ever told her that she would be texting about work in the bathroom, crying over another vomit mistake and mishappen. And you guys might not know this, but I actually really love women's fiction when it features characters that are actually like mothers. I don't know why, it just feels like the story is just more interesting when you read about how people handle themselves, and also it's more interesting when it's very realistic. So the last book that I purchased in my 3 for $10 sale is Acts of Love by Tallulah Riley, and now this book I feel like it's going to be the one that's similar to Something Borrowed by Emily Griffin. Now keep in mind that I actually never read Something Borrowed by Emily Griffin. I know the plotline, and the plotline is basically that the best friend likes the fiance and things get wild from there and dramatic. So this one is about a girl named Bernadette, and Bernadette loves her best friend Tim, and it doesn't matter that Tim is actually already engaged and Tim is going to be married to another girl. Bernadette is going to slide her way into that engagement and make things work out for herself. This character is clearly not an angel, and this character clearly does have her own motivations that may not be agreeable to a lot of viewers, so I'm excited to read this one as well. So the next book that I purchased myself is This Time It Will Be Different by Mia Sugoria. This book features immigrant characters, so it features a girl named CJ, and she's 17 years old. She's Japanese American, but her family are immigrants to America, and they own a flower shop, and they have special ways of arranging the bouquet of flowers because they have their own beliefs that the flowers are more beautiful and represents more things, and each flower represents a different meaning and things like that. So they're very passionate about it, although CJ is not passionate about it and doesn't really think that it's actually a thing, and that is until her mother decides to sell the flower shop to the same people who swindled the Japanese Americans way back when the war was happening. And I just feel like that this one would touch upon a lot of different topics, including being an immigrant in America, also dealing with racism, and also dealing with a lot of cultural and historical things. I think this is going to be a very emotional novel. I actually received an ARC of this book way back when it was released, but I actually didn't end up reading it. I actually didn't even have like a finished ARC. Like the ARC wasn't even like had this beautiful cover, so it really put me off from reading it. But I feel like now that I have a hardcover back version, I have no excuse but to read it, so I'm very excited to read it. So the next novel that I purchased for myself was The Impulse Buy, because my friend Simone from Simone and Her Books on Instagram was raving about this book, and Lacey and Jessica has also just finished a live show of this book. Everybody has read this book, or everybody is trying to at least read this book, and everybody has this book. This book is super heavy, and it's like breaking my arm as I'm holding this right now. I know nothing about this book except for that I think it has to deal with angels, and it's a lot of like fantasy elements, and people are saying how Sarah J Maas's family found her like stride in writing adult fantasy. So I'm excited to read this novel, but also at the same time I know that realistically I probably wouldn't get to this novel by the end of this year, simply because look how thick it is, and also because I don't tend to read a lot of fantasy. So the next novel that I received is actually from Source Books, and it's called Mr. Darcy Takes a Wife, and this is an extension to Pride and Prejudice, and it's written in the way of like Jane Austen. That's not really what I like, because I don't read classics, and it's really hard for me to read classics. So if it was written in a modern historical romance setting, maybe I would have read it, because I do like Pride and Prejudice, like the movie obviously, because I never read the actual classic novel. And I just wanted to point out that the font size of this arc is horrific. Like, it's so small and it's just so much information. Like, I tried to read one page and I couldn't even understand it. Needless to say, this is not going to be the top of my priority. I'm sure I have more historical romances to show you, but this is the first grab that I grabbed from the historical romances that I actually read during the historical romance readathon that was hosted by me, Lacey, and Jessica. So the first book that I have to show you is actually a book that I already read before, but I just never owned the physical copy, and I wanted to complete my Tessa Dare collection. And it's called Romancing the Duke by Tessa Dare. I read this book like maybe 2 years ago now, so I actually don't really remember that much about it. But if you guys haven't checked it out already, I actually did a whole video guide to Tessa Dare novels, and yeah, it was great. I read a lot of Tessa Dare novels during the readathon. What else more can I say? She's a queen. So the second novel that I bought during the readathon is this gorgeous novel called To Taste Temptation by Elizabeth Hoyt, and I just love the blue of this cover. I love her dress. I just love the design of it, but the only problem is that I didn't really like the book. But this is a book haul, not a review, so I won't talk too much about it. But basically this book is about a girl who is hired to bring some other girl into society because she's very sophisticated and she's very like noble and she's very pretty. But basically what happens is that she falls in love with the guy that she was hired for. So the third novel that I bought for that haul is Elizabeth Hoyt, To Seduce a Sitter, and this one is actually, I think, like book 2 of the series I just showed you. And this one is about a girl who has been in love with a guy for many years now, and finally the opportunity comes up where she can propose to him, and they have an arrangement together to be married, and they have a sexual relationship. But spoiler alert, I did not like this novel as well. So the next novel that I want to show you is another Tessa Dare novel called Do You Want to Start a Scandal? And I've talked so much about this book already, but basically it's about two characters who are caught in a very compromising situation, and they're forced to have an arranged marriage, but she is unwilling to walk into a marriage without love, so she decides to go on an investigation, and she becomes Sherlock Holmes to try to figure out who was the one that actually started the scandal. And it was so fun. It was fantastic. I loved it. So the next novel that I bought is Sophie Jordan's The Scot of Mine. So this book is about a girl that is engaged to marry a man that is just revolting in every sense, and she decides to start a scandal by saying that she's actually pregnant with some other man, and the family is forcing her to move to Scotland to live in ruins, or basically she decides to live in a different like country because she doesn't want to be judged by society. But what really happened was that she lied, and she's actually still a virgin, and she's actually not pregnant. But then our clan leader in Scotland figures out that she has been ruined and that she actually has a baby, and he needs an heir, so they agree to an arranged marriage where they marry each other, and then she gives birth to the heir. But then now she's stuck in this situation where she's actually not pregnant, but he actually has a secret himself, and it was interesting to figure out the secret and interesting to see how it played out in the end. So a package came in the mail, and this package is from Raincoast Books Canada. So one of the books I received is actually an ARC copy of Little Universes by Heather Demetrios, and this book is about two sisters who are coming to terms with the grief of their parents who have been killed on a vacation to Malaysia when a tsunami hit the island, and they have to move from their sunny hometown of California to live with another extended family in Boston. And they say that sisters are close, but what brings them closer together is grief and of course loss. I was recommended this book by the publicist, and I thought it was going to be a very emotional one, but she also described it to be a very uplifting and feel-good story. So hopefully that's true, and hopefully I could read it soon. So the second novel that I actually got from Raincoast Books, and the last novel I got from Raincoast Books, is Greythorn by Crystal Smith. Smith, and this one is about a princess who has recently come back from a trip, but then what happened was that a shipwreck happened, her loved one is killed, and the home country that she once loved and that loved her turns against her, and now she has to run away from the country before people try to kill her. So her best friend stores her in a castle called the Greythorn Manor, and it's only until then that she realizes that that place has secrets of their own. So the next package that I received is actually from an author that contacted me on Instagram, and I worked with her before, and she was very nice and kind enough to send me her a new upcoming release. So the book actually came into like this book sleeve that's made of like thin fabric, but if you look at the fabric, it's actually a map of New York, it appears like, because there's Manhattan, and I think it's like a subway map, but I'm not too sure because I'm actually not from like Manhattan. But this book is called The Subway Girl by Lisa Becker, and this book is about a hopeless romantic, a cynical web show producer, an unscrupulous cameraman, an inspiring actress, a womanizing best friend, a scheming ex-girlfriend, a commitment-phobic roommate, an unlucky in love buddy. These lives intersect when an average guy is awed by a gorgeous, mysterious woman on a New York subway and vows to meet her. So I think that this one is going to be a very fun read as well. I love it when novels intersect with like different plot lines and different characters. So I want to see how Lisa Becker does it and plays it out. So thank you to her for sending me a copy of her novel. So the next stack of books I have to show you is like another part 2 of the book haul that I had during the historical romance readathon, where I just went crazy and I just ended up buying more historical romances. So really the whole purpose of the historical romance readathon was to lower my TBR of historical romances, but it seems like I've just increased it by a lot. So the first historical romance I also want to show you is When a Stranger Loves Me by Julian McLean, and this one is published from a long time ago, as you can tell by like just like how the design of the book is. I love it. So this one follows the trope of amnesia. So it follows our main male character who is washed up ashore, and our main female character rescuing him and taking him back to her house. And in order for her to save her land and for her to save her house or something like that, she has to have an heir. So she decides to seduce him. So the next historical romance that I purchased is Secrets of a Gentleman by Lauren Lee Kirk, and this follows our main female character who had plans to elope and who was actually engaged, but then what happened was that the older brother of the fiance discouraged this relationship and discouraged the marriage because she is actually the daughter of a cook and she is not in the top tier of society, and so she was sent packing and her life was kind of ruined after that. So 12 years later she is back and she is actually living beside the older brother that ruined her marriage, and it just seems like it's going to be a very angsty, sexual attention filled romance because he's actually severely attracted to her. So the next novel that I want to show you is Barbarius by Minerva Spencer, and this one is actually a pirate romance, and basically she is a widow and she has actually cheated the pirate of land, a house, and a fortune, and now they are fighting their attraction with each other while she's also holding on to this very big secret. So the next novel that I want to show you is actually another pirate romance, and this one's from Celeste Bradley called Wedded Bliss, and this girl is engaged to the little brother of our main male character. Our main male character is very protective of the little brother, and he thinks that this girl is going to trick him of his fortunes, so he decides to replace him in the wedding, and they get married instead of like the little brother marrying her, and then they obviously fall in love. I think this one is going to be very funny, and I want to see how this emotions plays out, and I want to see her reaction to it. Obviously she's not going to be happy that she got tricked into a marriage. So the next historical romance that I picked up is called The Drifter by Suzanne Wiggs, and our main female character is actually a doctor, and she wants to sail off and go to a different country to become a well-known doctor and do her practice. But what happens is that she's actually held hostage. By our main male character, who is severely wounded after running away from the police, and now she is forced to mend him, but there are other ways that she can mend him, like maybe his heart, I don't know. So the next historical romance I picked up is also a pirate romance called The Pirate Prince by Galen Foyley, and this one is about our main female character's family who is in danger of being killed. I guess they wronged the pirate, who is also our main male character, so our main female character throws herself into his arms and says, "Take me and spare my family." So he's like, "Okay, sure, you're my captive now," and basically they set sails on adventures. And I just love pirate romances because they're just so dramatic, and I love this story and plotline, and this is my that kind of trash. So the next novel that I picked up is Between the Devil and Desire by Lorraine Heath. And this book is about a male character who is basically a scoundrel. He's into debauchery. He owns a gentleman's club, and he also has just been named the owner of the Duke's possessions. And our main female character, it just so happens to be the deceased Duke's wife or ex-wife or whatever, the widow, and she is not gonna let go of everything and give it to the scoundrel. So they are suddenly living together in close proximity, and I guess they're fighting their sexual attention to each other. So the next novel that I have to show you guys is actually a paranormal romance, which is very surprising for me because I normally don't read paranormal, but I love like gods and goddesses paranormal romances. Like I just think they're so interesting. So this book is called The Goddess Gets Her Guy by Ashlyn Chase, and this book is about Mother Nature herself talking to frogs and having the time of her life in the Puerto Rican rainforest trying to mend nature. And that's when she stumbles upon a doctor who just so happens to be a cardiac surgeon who's trying to find the meaning of life in the Puerto Rican rainforest. So the next book that I received from Forever Romance is Melinda Curtis's Can't Hurry Love, and this book is about a girl who was married to the perfect guy who she thought that she was going to live with the rest of her life with. But what happens is that he actually passes away, and suddenly she is a widow, and suddenly she also realizes that her husband has a secret life, and so she moves herself up from the big city back into this small town where apparently he grew up. With the help of the sheriff, she tries to figure out what her husband was actually up to. So the next novel I actually also received from Forever Romance, and this book is called Primrose Lane by Debbie Mason. And now this book is about a girl who has moved into this small town already. She's forgotten her past life where she was married to a man, but then what happens is that her old life catches up with her new life, and now her ex's young daughter is under her care. I guess her ex passed away or something happened because now she has to take care of a child, and the small town doctor wants to help her, but she clearly made it very obvious that she doesn't need help and she wants to be a strong, independent woman. So the next three romances are books that I actually received from the Harlequin publicity team on Instagram. So they're just basically books that I feature on my Instagram page. So the first book that I received is Hers to Mate by Rena Morgan. I actually don't know much about this book, but I just love the cover. The second novel that I received is from the Presents line, and this book is called The Innocents Forgotten Wedding. And I love Lynn Graham, so I can't wait to dig into it. I also love the series. If you guys need a recommendation for something that is steamy and very dramatic and featuring a lot of rich billionaires. The third novel that I received, Wyoming Special Delivery by Melissa Sennett, and this is a Harlequin special edition. I also have a quite fondness for Harlequin special editions because they're very heartwarming and they're very sweet and they're very cute. So the last part of the book haul is of course in order that I placed with Harlequin. They were having a buy one get one 50% off sale or a buy one get one free sale, so I ended up purchasing all the books that were released for Harlequin Presents for this month of April, I think. So this is the stack of books that I purchased. It's 8 books. So what happens is that Harlequin actually publishes 8 books per this series each month, and this is all the books that were published in April. Like all my book hauls featuring Harlequins, I'm not gonna like go into every single book because we don't have time for that. So the first book that I purchased is My Shocking Monte Carlo Confession by Heidi Rice, and I love the purple on this cover. It's just so pretty. I love the background that they're doing. So the second novel that I bought is Kidnapped for His Royal Heir by Mayette Blake. The third novel that I have is actually a novel that I actually received from the Harlequin publicity team, but I just purchased it again anyways because I didn't know any book that I wanted to purchase, and it was buy one get one free, and it's a long story, but it's The Innocents Forgotten Wedding by Lynn Graham. So the next novel that I purchased is The Spaniard Surprise Love Child by Kim Lawrence, and again I really like the cover of these novels now because they're more zoomed in and they show you more of the expressions of the models. So the next novel that I purchased is A Scandal Made in London by Lucy King, and this is a new to me author. I'm not sure if she actually published any Harlequin Presents in the past, but hopefully it's good and hopefully I buy more of her novels. So the next novel that I purchased is A Bride Fit for a Prince by Suzanne Stevens, and this book is kind of strange because it ends off in a question mark. The next novel that I purchased is His Greek Wedding Night Debt by Michelle Smart, and I love Michelle Smart. If you guys ever need a recommendation for a Harlequin author, I highly recommend you Michelle Smart's books. And the last novel that I have to show you is The Italian's Pregnant Cinderella by Caitlin Cruz, and I love Caitlin Cruz because she writes really great novels, and let me just tell you guys this right now. I love my Harlequins to be very trashy and to include a surprise pregnancy or to include like an arranged marriage. I just love it. I just love it. But anyways, that is it for all the books that I purchased and received in the later half of March. And if you guys haven't watched it already yet, definitely watch part 1 of my March book haul. Hopefully you guys also found some reads that you never seen before, and hopefully you guys have found some recommendations from me as well. But until next time, I'll see you guys again. Bye.